So April and Kimberly, it is so good to be here with you today. Today, you shared possibly one of the greatest gifts you could with our unsheltered folks and with our community, because this is going to go pretty viral. We're going to take this around and we're going to share our tiny bedroom on wheels so that people know what it can be, right? And how we can get people out from the woods and from under viaducts and sleeping on the streets into housing. And for me, this is a really powerful moment because I used to run a shelter for homeless runaway throwaway here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And they would be there for anywhere from a week to 8 weeks till we moved them into a more settled housing. And I myself was a youth on the streets of Chicago after I moved from Mississippi up there. And so it's really personal to me that you as young adults and high school students, which is the population we serve, which was 14 through 18, the shelter in Milwaukee, that you become a part of the movement, right? And you become a part of the change that we all want to see in the world. So what was this like for you to be a part of this?
It was very, very interesting when you first got the idea, but once you got the concept of what we were doing, it was amazing trying to build it. It was amazing what we were going to accomplish, what we were potentially trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
It was, and now that it's finally going to go, it's amazing because I can't wait to see what it's going to do.
Yeah. And that's the thing, it could spark a revolution, right? It could spark a movement, because that's the kind of stuff I think that, I don't know, when I think back to activists and people like Rosa Parks, I think back to Martin Luther King, I think back to Oscar Romero, and I think back to Cesar Chavez, people that were real activists, like names that we know, but there's a lot of younger activists like yourselves, names that aren't out in the world, but you'll be known because of the work you do, right? And that makes a huge difference. What was it like for you? Because you have a unique story, Kimberly.
Well, for me, it was kind of really unique because of how situations are back at home and out here. I feel like it's the same situation for many people that they're like in the streets. They're probably migrating from place to place and they just don't have a place to go. And making this shelters like this mini house is really helping to like where you can get them off the streets and put them in a shelter.
Yeah.
And it's really heartwarming because there's a lot of people like that. They're trying their best to get out of the streets, but because of their situation, it's really hard for them. For me, it was heartwarming to do this.
Yeah. Like there's so many barriers if you're living on the streets or you're unsheltered, because number one, you got to come up with first month's rent plus, right? They want another month's rent to secure it, plus
everything requires
utilities,
right?
And you got to pay to have your utilities turned on. That's a couple $100. And so how do you, if you're homeless and you're finding it hard to maintain a job, because how do you get a shower? Where do you get your food? Everything's a struggle, right? This will make it much easier for people because they have a place to live, they have a place to stay, they have a place to get started and transition into employment. And what's your country of origin, your family's country of origin? I know you were born here.
My country of origin is Guatemala, and that's where my parents are from, and that's where my sisters are too. And I really wanted to make a change for them also, where there's, because education over there is really hard, and that could be something I could change probably in the future if I put my standards up to it. And that's what I really want to do, help them out over there too. It's the same thing for some other countries too, where it's hard for their skills and education.
So did your parents come from Guatemala as migrants?
They did.
Okay.
But my dad ended up getting a resident here, which he's allowed to be here and stuff, but it's my mom that was the who migrated here.
Yeah, I know it's really hard because our immigration system is relatively broken.
Yeah.
It takes years and years and years, and maybe anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000. So interesting. I didn't hear Guatemala earlier, but I moved here from Phoenix 2 years ago, and in Phoenix, the Guatemalan refugees, migrants that were coming across the border, the church that I was pastoring, we housed them in the church. We ICE, which I despise, because they don't treat people humanely. They came and they dropped them off at our church. We gave them meals and showers. We built showers. 100, 150 migrants from Guatemala at a time would stay with us, usually for 3 days, and then we would help transport them to where they needed to go in this country to start seeking asylum with family or friends. So a brilliant, amazing community. I learned some Spanish then, and what the interesting thing was often a mother, a father, an auntie, or uncle that would come with their children, a child or two, right? And we had a very large courtyard, and all these beautiful Guatemalan children would be out there playing ball, playing soccer. So I learned how to play soccer too from them, right? And it's just an incredibly vibrant community, and they were coming here to be able to find a better living, something better for their family. And some were escaping violence and safety, right? And they would share those stories once they started to trust us. But it's rough. It's rough to come across the border. They were coming through the desert. They were picked up by ICE, and they weren't treated well. And we know on the border they were putting children in cages. And so we went down and we did some activism around that. So like your family and your family that's still there, strong, resilient people, right? And that's what, strangely enough, this country is built on. It's built on immigrants, people who came here. You probably immigrated from where? Do you know where?
So I'm from here, but I think my origin goes back from overseas.
Yep.
But
European?
European.
Yep.
So everybody thinks my mom's a Spaniard because of the way she looks.
Really?
So
Okay.
yeah. I think we're from over there, yeah, because we fit in really well, and most of my friends and majority of my family, we're all best friends with Hispanics, and we speak Spanish with them. So
Oh, that's beautiful.
this is my best friend, so it's really great.
That's awesome. Because you're right, we came as Caucasians from Europe to this country. And of course, what we did to the indigenous people, the American Indians, was terrible. They're the only people the original people, right? All the rest of us immigrated and migrated here. So it's a beautiful story. But I really, really appreciate the two of you sharing your reflections, and what you've done is dropped dead amazing. And we will keep you posted. We have no idea what kind of a movement this is going to create, but it's going to definitely create. So,
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
It was nice meeting you.
Yeah, it's good to meet you both.
Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us from the Executive Director's Desk on location at Gulfport High School. Thank you.